Beth here from Access Paranormal for this week's I Want to Know. Hello. Hope you are all well. Great to see you guys here. I know I'll wait for a little bit longer. As you know, when we talk about the afterlife and things like that, we often keep in mind the fact that the afterlife hasn't been proven by science as per yet, but still it is awesome to talk about and explore, and that is why we are here. So keep that in mind when we're talking about subjects like this as well. Hi everybody. Hi Kaz, how are you, sweetheart? So yes, we're talking today about sacred objects and haunted items, which is a little bit different, a little bit off topic. Hi Gary, sweetheart. So okay, there is a difference. There definitely is a difference. So we'll talk, we've spoken a bit about haunted objects before on I Want to Know quite a bit of times, or a few times I should say. So I won't go too much into it because we're kind of au fait with that kind of topic. But sacred objects, probably not so much so. Hi Adam, how are you, mate? So sacred objects, what are they? We've got a general idea, but as we know it today, sacred objects have a very different intent when it comes to possible activities. So sacred objects are often seen as something that is a connection between two worlds. So from the supernatural world connecting to the physical world, that kind of thing. So it's, and also there's a lot more of a special sort of divine sort of intent with them as well. So they're used in rituals, they're used in ceremonies, they're considered quite special, quite eclectic, beautiful, and very, very special to the people who have a certain belief as well as that as well. Hi Di, how are you? Hey Shane, good to see you here, mate. So of course, so that's generally it. They are, they can often be used as well to be able to compel an entity to do something. So I say entity, it's more like divine spirit. So say for instance, a statue of a goddess could be used as a way to compel this particular goddess to protect somebody, or for abundance or something like that. So that it can actually be used as a way to be able to help a person living here as well. It literally is almost like a phone connection to the divine, basically. And also as from a protection way too as well. So it's not just for the good of that person, but also from a protection perspective too. I do know of an investigator that does actually have a sacred, what he believes is a sacred object. And he uses that when he goes out investigating, and he swears by the fact that it protects him as well from anything that could be possibly negative too. So it's whatever floats your boat, and he swears by this particular object helping him out. It's a beautiful, beautiful object too, but I won't go into it too much because he's told me in confidence. So there's that as well. Now, of course, there are different types of objects that are used for sacredness and connections with the divine. I mean, we've all heard about the Bible, of course, and there's, rosary beads as well could also be considered. There's paintings. Some paintings can be considered sacred. Art, of course, being part of that too. Books. We know holy water and oil and things like that, obviously, and also clothing is something else as well. Hi Kat, how are you, sweetheart? So there's that too. So there's a couple of all different types. There's so many. I mean, buildings. There's some buildings that are considered quite sacred. I wouldn't say objects per se, because you're going to be pretty strong to carry that around. But yeah, there are some buildings and also some objects that obviously are very, very special to people and have that divine connection. That's the biggest thing. It's intent, it's ritual, it's continued ritual on it, and then that energy from that object is used for other things as well. Not always, but often. Then, of course, we need to look at the other side of the fence, which is our haunted items. So the difference being is that with a haunted item, it is generally believed that it is haunted by something that, or somebody who has passed. So it's a deceased person that has passed, and for some reason they're either in this object because they've been cast to it by someone else, or they're actually attracted to it in some way. We still don't know. We're just finding out our own answers to that particular topic too. So the difference being sacred is connected to the divine. Haunted items are more about the fact that there's been somebody that's deceased and is attached to this particular item. So of course, when it comes to paranormal investigating, how do you know what the difference is if you come across any of these items? Really, really interesting and intriguing question, which was the one that was originally spurred this particular topic for I Want to Know. So the first thing I would look at is, okay, what is the actual object? I know it sounds a little bit silly to say, but is the object a statue? Is it jewelry? Is it a painting of some sort or a drawing of some sort? Is it something that you can look and research the history of? And this is going to be the most important part. And I think when it comes to objects, I think knowing the history is probably more important than actually knowing it from when you're investigating a location, because that gives more clues, because we've got less likely a chance to find out what the path of this particular item has taken. So finding the actual history of it is really, really important. So finding the history, is there anything that looks like that you can find? What sort of religion would it be attached to, if it is attached to a particular religion? So, if you do come across an item and you think actually it might actually be a sacred item as opposed to a haunted one, finding the history is very, very paramount for that as well. So that will give you clues to it as well. Also at the same time, I would probably step in a little bit and say, okay, what type of activity are you experiencing? So is it the type of activity that's quite intense? Because even though there are sacred objects that are very special and obviously connected to the divine, if you take them away from their sacred areas, they might actually have been known to cause disruption in a household or place of business. So it may look upon as negative, but maybe it's actually disruptive in the sense where it's not where it was originally intended to be. So keep that in mind. Do that little step further as regards to the whole activity side of things as well. Of course, if you do feel it is actually leaning towards more a sacred object as opposed to maybe a haunted one, the first thing I would do is look at possibly returning it back to where it was taken. So again, that's where your history will come into play as well. I know that's a very, very strong thing with Indigenous Aboriginal culture, where if something is taken away from a sacred area, that it's not smiled upon at all. It's actually quite frowned upon. It's a big no-no. And so that's why for a while, for now, you can't take anything from Uluru as well, because Uluru itself is a massive rock. It's considered a sacred area. So you're not allowed to take anything from that because of that very reason. It's to be left there. It's a very special place. I think only about 6 months ago, there was a museum in Victoria that had beautiful sacred items from a particular mob. And this particular mob was able to find the fact that this particular museum had these items, contacted them, and the museum was like, yep, that's fine, take them, we believe that they are yours, happy for you to have them back. And these items have been in this museum for about 30 years, and they were specific to the culture where it was only males that were allowed to view these items. So you can imagine 30 years worth of disrespect for these items in this museum. Not with that intent, I would imagine, but once it was found, then obviously they corrected it. And it wasn't due to paranormal activity at the time as well, from what I could tell from what I read from the reports. But yes, so that was obviously taken back, and now they're back where they belong. So that's the first thing, is if you believe you're dealing with a sacred object, take it back to where you need to, where you believe, or where from your research, and also from the people that you've found this information from, or the object. Take it back to where it was meant to have been. Most of the time, that's half the battle that you've got going on. Also, one thing about with this particular museum is, regardless of the fact that they weren't of Indigenous faith, is to have the respect for the fact that there are these items around, regardless of your own beliefs. And to respect that as well. So these people obviously weren't of Indigenous faith and or culture, and of the people of the land. So, but that didn't matter, because these items were important to that particular culture as well, and they were able to say, yep, that's fine, let's put them back to where they belong as well. Yeah, wow, I know, it's cool, isn't it? Hey, Cara, good to see you here too. So yeah, so there's a couple of things. To think about. History is a big thing. Make sure that you do look at the fact of the actual object itself. It will give clues. Sometimes there's symbols on there as well, if it actually is quite a special sacred object. It is rare that you'll probably come across a really, really special one, but then again, antique shops have been known to have some really interesting items there, and stuff does happen when people do take them home. And also at the same time, having respect for the fact that these items more than likely will need to be returned back to their owner, or the place and location where they were actually taken from originally in the first place as well. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. As I said, there's heaps of information out there on the internet about it. So many different types of reports that people have had over the years in dealing with sacred items as well. But use the comment section down below and let me know if you ever felt like you've dealt with one. As I said, I've met an investigator that actually has one that it takes on a paranormal investigation as well. Hi, Kat. And yeah, so you know, let me know what are your thoughts on that too, and any advice that you might have as well with regards to dealing with a sacred object while dealing with possible paranormal activity. But do take care, and thanks for watching, guys.